Welcome to SELINTalks, podcast initiative by SELINClub, where today we have the honor of having a conversation with Mr. Gavin, a renowned educator who has been named as the most influential educator by The Educator in 2022, a TEDx speaker and a Montessori Australian ambassador. With over 20 years of teaching experience in multiple countries, Gavin is a passionate advocate for innovative education practices that foster essential skills in students from the early age. He's also the best-selling author and a regular visitor to Nepal, where he delivers Montessori training. He's been building schools and programming advices. Join us as we delve deeper into Gavin's inspiring journey and expertise in field of education. Hi, Gavin. First of all, thank you so much for giving us time to be here with us. It's an honor, honestly. And I've been reading so much about you. There is a lot that you have done in the field of education and a lot more apart from that as well. The first and foremost thing I would really like to know, and for our audience, how has been your journey so far? Was it decided for you or was it defined for you from the very early age? Or how did you come across, that you have to be an educator and the topmost for that matter?
I don't know about, the last statement, but look, it's interesting. Everyone's journey is different in this world, and we're all on some kind of trajectory. I would say that, it's really hard to predict where you're going. Lots of people are always looking into the future. What will I be? Where will I end up? What is my goal? I have the mindset that you can't really decide or predict what the future looks like in actual fact, but all you have the power to actually do is just take one step forward in any direction. It doesn't matter which way you go. Later, that step forward will become an entire journey, and the journey has an end, has a result. So I have the mindset that you should always, if it feels good and you have a feeling in your heart that it's going to be fun, and some people are going to be happier because of something you are doing, then you should definitely try to do it as much as you can. And being a teacher involves doing that every single day, with every child that comes in the door, every child that listens to you in your lesson, every child that makes a poster, writes a letter, makes something out of clay, smiles, laughs, plays, makes a friend. You have a chance to be amazing all day, every day as a teacher. And I would argue that there are very few jobs or professions in the world that get to feel like that, where you feel like that all the time. It's very hard to find that, I think, in this world. Even as a doctor, as a doctor, sometimes you have to deliver doom or gloom. I'm sorry you have cancer. I'm sorry you only have 1 year left. If you work in education, it's the beginning of all these beautiful flowers about to blossom, and you are there at the beginning, planting the seeds, watering them, and watching the flowers emerge. And very few professions allow you to be able to do that. So I feel honored and privileged. And I got into teaching because my mum told me, you are very good with children. They come to you, so you should go to them.
Wow, that's very sweet and very true. Like very few of the professions actually give you that kind of a feeling, and like you said, it's commendable. You've taught in several countries throughout your career, and including France, Spain, and Korea, and Australia, and you've been building schools in Nepal as well. Have you noticed any differences in the education systems of those countries, and how did these experiences actually shape your own teaching philosophy?
So, of course, each country has a culture, a language, a history, traditions, religion, all those things. They affect how the curriculum is written, how the teachers deliver it, and the expectations of the education system. Of course, they're all different. There's no question about it. One thing that you notice as you travel around the world and visit schools is schools are predominantly driven by the requirements of parents, especially in the private sector, especially in India, in China, Bangladesh, and the Middle East. What happens in these countries is parents put their children into a school and they say, my child is coming to this school now. I want him to be successful, so I'm paying money. Now you better make him successful. I want him to be a doctor or an architect or a brain surgeon. They're the only three things that I require him or her to be. You better deliver me a child back that looks like that. Otherwise, if I find at any point my child is starting to fail, make mistakes, then I'm taking him out and he's going to another school where they will provide me with that. Unfortunately, that is a huge problem that we have in our world right now, because the opinion of parents is skewed. Sometimes it's completely wrong, not all the time, but sometimes. Because the problem we find is that because we have been to school, we think we know how to be a teacher, right? And we went to school 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 60 years ago. Expectations were different then, very different. The expectations today are not the same as they were in 1970, 1960. So now our children, in order to be successful, they don't need to just recite something and memorize some facts and pass a test. They need to be resilient, and they need to be critical thinkers, and they need to be persistent and determined and emotionally aware and have values and morals and have confidence and know how to communicate and know how to work collaboratively and have teamwork. These are the skills that the world is looking for. You don't fly to Mars, and colonize another planet because you know how to pass a test. And if you look at the statistics, the most successful, and I say successful because we quantify success with money, but if you look at the most successful people or businesses in the world, lots of them left school, early. They failed their exams, but they had lots and lots of them had the same things in common. They were trailblazers. They tried things that were new. They were fearless. They had confidence, ultimate confidence to try anything. And so it's all good and well to say to our children, I want you to be this because it will feel good and I will feel successful. But actually, the reality of what our children need is for parents, teachers, schools to say, we want to find out about you. Before we even teach you one word, we're going to do our market research because you are my customer and I want to know who you are, what you want, and how you learn. And I'm going to do that before I even teach you anything. And so the very beginning of education should be that. Who are you? What do you like? How do you learn? And when I know that about you, then I can give you the keys to be successful in the future. Because we have this huge problem in our world where, you'll know this, Shruti, you probably, your father, your grandfather, your uncle, very common in men. They get to 50, 60 years old. They've been to school, went to university, had a job, worked, bought a house, bought a car, bought a watch, bought a jacket. Wow, look how successful I am. And then they get to 60 and they go, oh my God, I haven't done anything. All I've done is made money to buy things, but the world has not changed because of my actions. So now I'm going to Goa and I'm going to find myself. I'm going to an ashram. I'm going to relax and I'm going to be mindful and think, what do I want? But by this time you're 70 years old and you don't have the energy or the lust or the passion or the wildfire in your body to say, I'm going to do this. You've missed it. And so actually what's really, really required in our world is to sit down with your 6-year-old child in kindergarten and look at them and observe them and listen to them and find out who they are, what do they want to be, and how do they learn. And then your job is to make that happen for them, to say, okay, let me guide you to where you want to go. And if you make mistakes along the way, that is totally fine, because that's the true essence of success, is when a child ends up being what they dreamed of being. And I think that's what we're missing. Yes, education systems around the world are all different, and you can't criticize one from the other. They're all right and wrong in their own right, but what's wrong fundamentally across the world is we get children and we try to fit them into the education system rather than trying to fit the education system around our children.
Very true. I don't think anybody, even when we were in school, anybody asked us, how do you learn? Because there was a very simple incident that happened, that the teacher was trying to make me write through, like with my right hand, and I was not born writing. Very small thing, because it's notion that every kid is a right-handed person. So, like, even the smallest things like that never occurred to people. And even now, I think that's the change that we require all over, not just any other country, just all over.
100%. And
Yeah.
don't you think it's slightly insulting that our children sit in class and they have a highly evolved evolutionary body that's evolved over hundreds and thousands of millions of years, but still, we say to our children in many classrooms around the world, if you want to go to the toilet, then you put your hand up, and I will tell you when your brain and your bladder are communicating effectively. I will tell you when that's happening. And a child is saying, look, my brain and my bladder are communicating. My bladder is full. I need to go to the bathroom. Then I say, excuse me, miss, would you mind? And she says, I'm sorry, no, you can't go. Ask me again later. That is so offensive. The child is saying, number one, you don't trust me to even use my evolutionary features of this human body, which is highly evolved, highly attuned. You don't trust me to do that. And therefore, you've failed immediately, straight away. Because if you can't trust them to go to the toilet, how can you trust them to learn independently?
And become world leaders. Like every child is supposed to become world leaders.
Yes, well, exactly right. Everyone's a leader in their own right, but if you can't lead yourself to the bathroom, how can you lead anything?
Exactly. Like such a small thing, but it is offensive. More than that, you're just not even trusting the child. I mean, that has happened with everybody around the world. I
Of
doubt
course.
if somebody might have missed it somehow.
I know. So, if you have any teachers watching this and they're going, everything that Gavin is saying, maybe it sounds impossible. I don't think I could do that in my classroom, depending on where this conversation goes. The first thing that teachers should do is say to their children tomorrow morning, good morning, everybody. I'm Mrs. Johnson, or whatever the teacher's name is. I know I've been asking you to tell me if you need to go to the toilet. That's no longer required. I can tell you right now that I trust you. When you need to go to the toilet, you can go. And, I trust you. And you will make a mistake. Sometimes you'll go to the toilet and you'll spend too long in the toilet. Or you will take the tissue paper and you'll throw it onto the mirror. Or you will be dancing and tailing the taps and splashing the water. And that is not appropriate. And if you do that, I'm afraid we have a problem on our hands. But I trust you. So off you go, guys. If you need the bathroom, you can go. And watch what happens in your classroom like this immediately. The children immediately respect you more because you're not ruling the classroom with an iron fist to say, I'm in charge of your body. You're saying, I trust you with this small thing. And then the children show you that they can be trusted. And as soon as they demonstrate that trust, you say, look, it's been an amazing week. You've all been to the bathroom independently. You haven't wasted time. You haven't thrown the tissues. You haven't splashed water. Now, the art cupboard, which is all the paint and the card and the pencils and if you need to use the things in the art cupboard, that door is now open for you. I trust you. Okay. And slowly but surely, you let them have more and more trust until the classroom is not your classroom, but it's everybody's classroom. And everybody is responsible for everything. And that is when you have this beautiful harmony in your room where you're not trying to enforce the rules, because you are part of the rules. You are also involved in that. If the classroom is messy, it's not the children's fault, it's everybody's fault, including yours.
Wow. Also, one more thing, this is while you were talking, and just remember that we are taught to, be vocal about a lot of things if we're facing any issues, like after we are a little more older. But when we're a kid, there are these things that are being told to you are so engraved that after a point, I think it has a ripple effect of us not actually speaking out when some things are going wrong or something. Even at a workplace, if something is going wrong, or there is a trust issue altogether, I think we don't speak up because it comes from where that we are being told to do this.
Exactly right.
It's
I mean,
Yeah.
the foundations of what happens in our classrooms are, they say what you are, they will become. And so, as the teacher, it's really important that, you're sitting down with your class at the end of the day or lunchtime, and you're having a group or a circle time or whatever it is, a conversation. and you reflect on the day. How was your day, children? Someone says, I had a great day. I did a lot of work today. I'm really proud of myself. You said, it's fantastic. I'm so happy that you are proud. How about you? When you go around the room and somebody says, I didn't have a very good day because at lunchtime I was really lonely and nobody was playing with me, and I was sitting on my own. And so you have this conversation about how it felt. What would it feel like if it was happening to somebody else in the room? And what can we do to assist that person if it happens again? But then, as the teacher, you also have to have an opinion. You're not an interviewer. It's not part of this, I'm going to interview the children. You are part of the classroom. So you must also say, let me tell you how my day was. I had a really good morning. I was working hard, reading with Thomas, and I was doing mathematics with Stephanie and Ahmed. But in the afternoon, I was actually a little bit sad because I saw that some children had not tidied the art room away. And when you all leave today and go home, I have to clean the art room. And now I really want to go home to be with my son, but I can't go home early because I have to clean up your mess. And the children immediately start to reflect on, oh my God, my teacher has emotions. She's a human being. He's a human being like me. And so there's a really famous quote which says, what you are, they will become. And so if you're honest and you're frank and you're emotional and you're a human being, then your children will be that too. So whatever you do in the classroom, whatever you instruct your students to do, you must also do. If you're cleaning the room, you are cleaning the room too. If it's time for silent reading, you sit and you read in silence as the teacher. You watch how quick everybody starts reading silently when you are also reading silently. If you say, right, everybody, it's time for silent reading, but I am going to talk at the door to another teacher. And you turn around, I told you silent reading, everybody. Children say, well, hang on a minute. This isn't really fair. She's not reading silently. Why am I reading silently? If the teacher sits and says, it's time for silent reading, I'm just going to get my book out and I'm going to read silently. You watch how quick everybody reads silently. It's part and parcel of model behavior.
True, very true. You have built schools and libraries in Nepal. What are the biggest challenges that you have faced, be it, the uh, integrating of education system, or what were the challenges that you faced and how was it overcome? How were those challenges overcome?
It's like anything, you're running a podcast here, right? And you do your first podcast and you're nervous and it's hard, and you do your 100th podcast and you don't care anymore. It's just so easy now. Oh, it's just Gavin, fine. Hello, Gavin, how are you? Podcast time. When you do your first one, you're feeling nervous like anybody else. But after a while, you become a master at what it is you need to do, and it becomes easy. These are the 4 levels of competence, and when you become completely competent in something, it becomes very easy. But at the very beginning, I guess the hardest thing was overcoming people who thought that I was going to fail. So, in the very beginning of this journey of building schools in the Himalayas or doing teacher training around the world, when people find out that you're going to start doing this, they almost want you to fail. You hear people saying, oh no, it's not going to work, or it's totally impossible. There's mountains in the Himalayas. There's no way you can do it. And, at the very beginning, it can be daunting because it is going to be tricky with anything new. And so at the very beginning, especially the work in the Himalayas, I saw that there was a big problem in Nepal because the education system there was very basic. The way that the social structure is set up, especially in rural areas, children are learning in rooms filled with dust, dirt, no tables, no chairs, not even a pencil. And you see that and you want to change it. And so you can't save the world because you're not Superman. But what you can do is you can start. Like I said at the very beginning, all you have to do is take one step forward. And so I wanted to do something like this. I'm not a rich person. I have a lot of energy and drive, but I'm not wealthy. So I flew to Nepal and I just got started. I met a man who was running a small training center, and I told him, let's make this the best training center in Nepal. And he said, how? I said, well, let me help you. Let's start by painting. And so we made his training center, Montessori Training Center, and suddenly, click your fingers, 50,000 followers, and people are coming from all over the entire country to get trained in Bag Bazaar Tiger Market. Now, I must be honest with you. I was there, so this was a big draw card because I'm a white Western man, from Australia, England. People say, "Oh, I want to be trained by this man." So people came, and this was the start because at that point, I realized that anything is possible actually, and so I thought, well, if I'm making a training center, why don't I start making some schools so the teachers from the training center can go and work in the schools? So this is the perfect synergy. So then I found a lady who was running a small school. It was really terrible. And I told her, why don't I fix your school up for you? And I will raise some money. I'll run a marathon. I'll use my school community networks and we'll get some materials. And we had one training center and one school. And this was perfect. And 7 years later, we have 3 training centers, one in Botwal, one in Kalanki, one in Bagbazar. And we built maybe 10 schools around the country. And all of the teachers who come to our training centers, they go off to their villages and they think differently about the way they teach. And so the impossible is actually possible. We won't get to change the whole country and see, all of the work. But when I go to bed at nighttime and I close my eyes, I know that all these teachers are changing their mindset and they're going to their schools and they're thinking differently about educating, children about animal welfare or well-being or anything like this. And, sometimes you plant a seed and the tree grows, but you never ever get to sit in the shade of that tree because it doesn't grow until you're gone. And I feel like the work in Nepal will be like this. Maybe in 100 years' time, education system will change there, and I hope that I can somehow play a part in that. But it's always going to be tricky when you do anything new. But as you get into the flow of things, you don't even think about it.
You're also the founder of upschool.co and educationinfluence.com. What are these organizations about?
So there are 2 organizations, and yes, I'm the co-founder of both of those. Education Influence started in 2015, and Upschool started in 2021. Basically, Education Influence is a platform for teachers all around the world who come, and we want teachers to come onto that platform. It's completely free. In fact, both are completely free. Education Influence is for teachers to come who want to make a difference in the world. And we attract them all into one place, and then we give them projects to do. We say, listen, we're going to read stories in Ukraine for children who are suffering from, war. Who wants to be involved? And everyone says, I will be involved because I am that kind of teacher and I want to have that feeling. So we have, people on Education Influence in almost every country in the world. There's no charge, there's no fee. It's just a community for teachers to come who want to make a difference. Basically, influential educators, Education Influence.
Wow.
And I feel we have many, many Indian education influencers, actually. I think we have more Indian education influencers than any other country on the planet. And I will say to you that I would love you to be there. If you want to come and be a member, you are more than welcome to come and join.
For sure. So, just for my understanding, are there any prerequisites to become a member of this community? Like you should have some kind of an experience, or how does it work?
No. So basically, when you click to enroll or to apply, it asks you a series of questions. And if you can answer all the questions, then it comes to our administration and we look at the application and we approve it or not. And so,
Wow.
if you are coming and we feel that you are coming to raise your status and look really, wow, look at me, then you're not approved. I'm sorry, you're not coming, because it's not about that. If you're coming to do good in the world, we'll approve you straight away. So it's not about your degree, your diploma, how you look, how beautiful you are, your experience. It's about your heart. If you want to come and work hard and make the world better, approved immediately. So, there's a lot of emphasis in the world on prestige and degrees and money and status. We want to get rid of all of that. So that's the number one. And number 2 is upschool.co, which is really, really cool. And I should really explain that a bit more in detail to you. So upschool.co is basically a platform for schools to come to. On this platform, there are free educational courses in line with the NEP 2020, United Nations, All of the SDGs are there. They're also aligned with the curriculum standards for India. So you might have schools around India right now thinking, oh my goodness me, I have to get the NEP 2020 achieved. I've got to tick off SDG number 13, climate change. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to show the children a video or maybe do a worksheet. Don't do it. Come to upschool.co, click find a course. They're all free. Everything is free. You find a course, I am the teacher. I teach the entire course for you to your class, and then your class get to, there's so many courses, but one of them which is really amazing is called Be the Change, named after Gandhi, because he said, be the change you wish to see in the world. You click the course, you enroll your whole school. Your entire school community, parents, teachers, students, get a free Canva Pro account. So Canva, you get to be a free Canva Pro for the whole community for free, like this. Number two, they then get to follow an education for 10 weeks and change the world. And we've had schools in Delhi plant forests. We've had schools in Mumbai feeding the homeless, but all in the line of education. So you are not avoiding the curriculum. You're still teaching the curriculum, but the end result is not an exam, a point, a score, a percentage, or a grade, or a ranking. The end result is something amazing happens in the world, and children go, oh my God, we planted a forest. I can't believe we planted a forest. You know, for me or you, planting a forest, it would be very hard. If I said, Shruti, let's plant a forest, you say, oh my God, where do we start? I have no idea. But these children are doing it and living proof. And what's very interesting about upschool.co is that we very recently had a letter from the minister, the National Minister of Education in India, who said, I am considering recommending upschool.co to every school in India, which is very, very cool. And so we have, cool. DPS, we have Ryan schools, we have some very big schools on our platform. But I welcome, your listeners to come and join, especially if they're thinking, oh, I'd like Gavin to teach my class every week. That's not a problem. Also, the platform has teacher training, parent training, and everything is free. There is not a charge. And I must stress this one important thing. I know in Indian culture, if it's free, it's normally rubbish. This is not rubbish. In fact, it's free, but the quality is outstanding. And if you like anything I've said today, you'll find everything on the platform.
Wow. I'm going to look at it the first thing. And before that, I'm going to look at educationinfluence.com because it's really exciting. Both of it is very, very exciting. I mean, I never imagined a platform like these exist. Trust me. Like you said, in India, there's the concept of whatever is free is garbage. Like that's the mindset there. So that's when I said that, while talking, you're changing, the mindset is shifting. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, I know. Look, I spent a lot of time in India, so I kind of know how the culture works and say it's free. Oh, if it's free, it can't be very good. And it's not. It's quite the opposite. So, I spent the last year, maybe 20 hours per day for 1 year, making all the content on that platform, or most of the content with our team. And, we have a big team of Indians and Nepalese and Australians. I have two co-founders, Jake Davis and Richard Mills, and we worked very hard to put this thing together, and we're very proud of it. We're so proud of it that we flew to the North Pole to record lessons on polar bears, walruses, ice caps, and on Tuesday next week, I'm flying to Antarctica to do 1 month of lessons on killer whales, blue whales, humpback whales, penguins, everything live from Antarctica. So any of your teachers think, ooh, I'd like to do a course on Antarctica, click, and it's all free.
Wow. It's amazing. I mean, what keeps you going? I know that there is always the motivation is there, the change that you would want to bring, and the power of actually building a community and what keeps you going? What is this one mantra that you have? And it's like, I have to do this. There is no way there's no other way around. What keeps you going like that?
Look, a few things, I guess. I'm not driven by anything material. I don't really have anything. Look at me. I'm not wearing a jacket or a shirt and tie. Look, this is my house. I'm stuck in a tiny room. This is my kitchen is through here. There's my pots and pans. You can see them. I live in a very humble life. I don't need much. I think lots of things make your life very complicated. What keeps me going is two things. My mother, I want to make her very proud. She's very proud. When I was young, it was just me and my mum, when I was young. And I know that she's in England and I'm in Australia. And I know she goes to the supermarket and says, "Oh, my son, did you know he's going to Antarctica? He's building a school in the Himalayas. He's got this plan." And it feels good that she feels proud of me, number one. And number two, I have a responsibility to children who are looking at me and saying, I'm going to be not like him. I want to have the same kind of mindset as this guy, because if you look online, you go on any social media platform, it's about buying, owning, big fast cars, mansions, all this success. I got $300 million. Look how to get rich quick. Yeah, that is the problem with this planet. That is the biggest problem. And that's not where you find happiness in actual fact. It's at the end of that rainbow, I'm afraid there is no happiness. The happiness comes when you do good for other people in the world. And I'm lucky that I have it every day. Like right now, I'm in this podcast with you. You're smiling. I feel good because you are like, wow, this is a good podcast. Maybe you don't, but maybe you do. You're like, this is a good podcast.
No, I really do.
Yeah, but then you feel happy, and then I feel happy because you're happy that I've given you, a service. And service learning is part of what's missing in the world, and we can bring it back. In fact, that is what Upschool is built off of that. We built our own educational framework called purposeful learning, which is about you learn something for a reason. And the reason is not so you can do something great in your life later to make money. You learn something so somebody else's life improves. And that is very important.
Very important. I think we have all, like, the rat race has made us forget a lot of things that were actually important. Like, and for sure, this podcast is really, really good. Trust me when I say this. It's because I'll tell you very honestly, I have like 2 pages of questions in front of me. But apart from that, I think I've asked you only 2, 3 questions, and it has been a really good conversation rather than a, like an official time bound and question bound podcast, because I really enjoy that needs to come from within. And I'm really glad for this conversation. Thank you so much for this. It has been really great, and I wish to have another more episodes whenever you're back from Antarctica and we can talk more about your experience there.
For sure, no problem whatsoever. I'd be happy to do that. And yes, like a lot of podcasts can be very official and very, and it's nice to have one that's just very casual and but also enlightening and very nice. I think people want to listen to that. But I would say to all your listeners that if you are interested in going to Upschool and joining your entire school, then I personally will onboard you and show you how to use the platform, show you where to go. And I will even enroll all of your students for you. You don't need to do anything. And so actually after this podcast, I'm going to do that with another school. They've got 20,000 children. They're all coming. And the reason I put that effort, the reason I want to make that effort is because I want to see more forests planted. I want to see more homeless people fed. I want to see more, I want to see these children find their passion early. And we can't wait till you're 70 and you have to go to Goa to find yourself an ashram. That's not the way it's going to work.
Yeah, it should not work like that. Very true.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank
right.
you so much. It has been a pleasure, an immense pleasure for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dhanavad. I appreciate your time. It's been a really pleasure for me too.
Thank you.